Oh, yeah.
and was a shoemaker. So he's the brother and sister.
Well, not their mom came to Milwaukee, as it was, but it was this person
But this brother decided he didn't want competition as a shoemaker. He said, our brother to other schools. And one of them was at my mom's sister was married. So when it was time, they made some money and they could bring, first they had to bring the exchange. Hi, Robert. It's still the same guy.
Right, so like this is the third.
I'm happy. But now I blame it on, I've been retired for 15 years, so I'm not supposed to remember.
I just remember some colleagues that I 10, 11 years old, so then one of them, I remember Crystal. And I'm so visual that, I mean, maybe if I saw them, I'd recognize the theater.
Oh, I know, I saw you too.
He had no idea who these people and he'd say that every day. You know, man, who was that?
Well, and,
But he was very charming.
hey, sure, you don't live actually been on
It's in the paper this morning.
Where are you sitting? I'm sitting like that. Oh, I just want to go back over here. That's where you're like, I'm so old. Sorry. I mean, I've never seen you between the tea and Dan. Our kitchen looks to us. This guy's bad.
I think this guy
We didn't notice that after we got dressed.
My grandparents used to say that. My grandmother would say that they would get dressed separately or whatever, and they'd meet in the kitchen, and the next thing you know, they're both wearing yellow and the same color.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, right there.
I want to sit with my brother.
That's fine, you look alike.
Now, so should we sit together?
Right, right. I mean, that's what I go back further than ever. She says she's known me forever. I mean, high school. High school. Okay. High school. Of course, he's older than me. Yeah, it's like conflict. Yeah, he was a big one.
That's okay.
Yeah, I know. It's good seeing you.
All right, did you do that? You got Claudia.
I'm still interested.
as we gather. A psalm of ascending, Shir LaMa'alot, a song for those who raise each other up. Shir LaMa'alot, Esa enai el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri, Ezri me'im Adonai, Ose shamayim va'aretz, Al yitein lamot raglecha, Al yanum shomrecha, Hine lo yanum elo ishan, Shomer Yisrael, Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha, Al yad yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka, ve'yareach balayla, Adonai yishmorcha mikora, yishmor et nafshecha, Adonai yishmor tzeitcha uvoecha, me'ata ve'ad olam, me'ata ve'ad olam.
It feels a little strange to be here today to send Fran off to her final resting place. Even though we knew the end was near, our hearts are certainly heavy with loss. Fran mattered to us. She mattered to her family and the people who loved her. We take comfort in knowing that in Jewish tradition, we do not bury a person, we simply bury the body. Because Judaism teaches of an eternal soul, a spark that will not be extinguished. And to us, this morning, Fran is that spark. The psalm that the cantor just sang from Psalm 121, Esa enai. The psalmist wondered what was the measure of someone who lived a life well. They ask, who shall dwell upon your holy mountain? And the answer, it was she who walked upright, and she who does righteous, she who speaks the truth in her heart, she who has no slander on her tongue, who does no evil to another or calls harm to her neighbors, she who honors those who keep their oath like she does. These are the ones who stand upon God's holy mountain. No doubt Fran is standing on that mountain now. When we don't know what to do, we gather together. And this morning we'll pay tribute to the legacy of someone we loved and someone who mattered. We'll sing, we'll offer readings and prayers, and we'll offer reflections. And we'll do it all together as we remember Fran. Join with me on the front of the program. Do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am a diamond glint on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. When you awake in the morning hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the soft star shine at night. Do not stand by my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. The cantor is going to lead us in the Hebrew version of Psalm 23. We'll read it then together as a community in English.
Mizmor le David. Adonai roi lo echsar binot desheyar bitzeni al mei menuchot yinachaleni nafshi yeshovev yancheni ve'maglei tzedek leman shemo Gam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo irara ki ata imati shivtecha umish'antecha hema yenachamuni ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorrai tishanta vashemen roshi kosiri vaya ach tov vachesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai Vishavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim.
Let's join together on the inside of the program. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
I'll offer some Hebrew from the third chapter of Ecclesiastes. Lakol zman ve'et lechol chayfetz tachat hashamayim et laledet ve'et lamut et lata'at ve'et la'akor natual et laharog ve'et lirpo et lifrot ve'et livnot, et livkot ve'et lischok, et tefod ve'et rekod, et lehashlich avanim, ve'et kenos avanim, et lachavok ve'et lirchok mechabek, et levakesh ve'et le'abed, et lishmor ve'et lehashlich, et likroa ve'et litpor, et lachashot ve'et ledaber.
Together. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to harvest, a time to tear down, a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to grieve, a time to dance, a time to embrace, a time to stand alone, a time to seek, a time to lose, a time to hold on, and a time to let go, a time to rend, a time to mend, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak. It is our time to speak. In Jewish tradition, one of the ideas that we speak up is the concept of zechut avot ve'imachot, the merit of our ancestors. It teaches us that the lives we lead are shaped not just by our own choices, but by the legacy of those who came before us. Frances Lipton Weinstein's life was a testament to this idea. She honored the past, built a vibrant present, and ensured a strong foundation for future generations. Frances Lipton was born in 1923 in Burlington, Wisconsin, to Ida and Isaac, first-generation Jewish Americans who had found themselves somehow in Burlington. Isaac ran a junkyard, and Fran spent her childhood in a modest farmhouse with her sisters. I'm told that there was a boys' room and a girls' room, and sometimes you didn't know who you were going to share a bed with. The family spoke Yiddish at home, but Fran was raised speaking English and attended Burlington public schools where she excelled. She took violin lessons, played in the high school orchestra, and participated in drama and gymnastics clubs. Bright and talented, she graduated as valedictorian before attending the University of Wisconsin here in Madison. During her sophomore year, Fran met Lawrence, who was much, much younger, 6 months. He was a Madison native, and where do two Jews from Wisconsin meet? Hillel, of course. She studied social work while he pursued a law degree. They married in Lake Geneva on May 27th, 1945, a date their family would never, ever forget, because 5/27/45 was later used as their home alarm code. Are you gonna have to change it now? Is that what... Their bond was deep, and for most of his life, or from their lives after them, they were inseparable. As Lawrence and Ben grew General Beverages, Fran and Lawrence settled into their home on Wobbin Hill, where they raised their children, Daniel and Miriam. Many here, no doubt, will remember that house, just a mile or so from here, and the vibrant community that surrounded it. The family took trips to the Smoky Mountains and the Seattle World's Fair. To ease sibling rivalry, Lawrence and Daniel sat in the front seat while Fran and Miriam shared the back. Fran and Lawrence loved to travel, and even after the kids were grown, they traveled truly all over the world, often with their dear friends, the Tobiases. Their adventures took them to Antarctica, on an African safari, and many times to Israel. Fran was active. She exercised, she played tennis, and enjoyed being on the boat. She and Lawrence were proud New Deal Democrats, and they were passionate supporters, both financially and philosophically, of progressive causes and individuals who reflected their value systems. They would hold fundraisers at their homes, and it became an important stop for Democratic politicians building relationships in this community. Their commitment to social justice was matched by an unwavering dedication to the Jewish community. They joined this synagogue in 1952 and admired Rabbi Swarsinski's leadership. Daniel and Miriam were both confirmed here at Bethel, and Lawrence served as president here from 1961 to 1965, the longest stretch by any TBE president. Fran led the sisterhood and volunteered in so many ways. Their legacy is indelible at Bethel, as they helped support our physical space and allowed us to build a vibrant, spiritual Jewish home. Their generosity extended beyond Bethel to numerous Jewish institutions in Madison. Fran was deeply involved in the Federation, serving on the board and doing everything else there, I'm told. And she was a past president of Hadassah. Their dedication to Jewish education helped establish the Mossie Weinstein Center for Jewish Studies at UW. Simply put, without their vision and their persistence and their support, the entire Jewish community of Madison would be smaller, less dynamic, and less collaborative. Family was central to Fran and Lawrence's life. I'm told once you marry into the Weinstein family, it is one that you marry into with full embrace. I don't think you have much of a choice. Siblings and children and nieces and nephews and cousins all woven into their world. They delighted in their grandchildren and later their great-grandchildren. And though they visited Fran's side of the family, the Lipton family in Burlington and Milwaukee, Madison was always home. Fran and Lawrence were married for 53 years until his passing in October of 1998. I looked it up earlier. Only 6% of couples make it to 50 years of marriage. For some, losing a longtime spouse leads to a rapid decline. Not so for Fran. Though Lawrence's death was a profound loss, no doubt, her determination and the love of family and friends allowed her to forge a meaningful chapter without him. She played tennis well into her 80s. She continued to travel, including on a Federation trip to Israel in her 80s. She nurtured lifelong friendships and even made new ones. She found great joy in her grandchildren, Sasha and Dov, Vida and Rhea, and later in her great-grandchildren, Lev and Talia and Kiri and Saadia and Elisha, Amram and Hadassah. In Judaism, one of the greatest honors is to be part of a Shalshelet HaKabbalah, the unbroken chain of tradition, hands linked, generations united. Fran was the vital link in that chain, connecting generations with love and wisdom. I met Fran soon after moving here last summer at Capitol Lakes. Though frail, she welcomed me with warmth and kindness. As one of Beth L's oldest members, her passing leaves an irreplaceable void. In times of loss, the most important thing we can do is to come together. As we say goodbye, we ask, where else might we find such a caring, charismatic, and generous sister, mother, mother-in-law, grandmother, great-grandmother, aunt, and friend? The truth is, there is no one like her. She was one of a kind, and her absence leaves an empty space in our hearts. And so to Esther and Daniel and Miriam, Joanne and Sasha, Dov, Eric, Razel, Vida, Ethan, Rhea, Lev, Talia, Rushi, Kiri, Saadia, Elisha, Amram, and Hadassah, and everyone else that was touched by her. You each carry a spark of Fran's spirit. It is a spark that death does not extinguish. My hunch is Fran wouldn't have wanted too somber of a memorial, only for her family and friends to be together. Though we grieve, we smile in remembrance of a woman who lived life well and lived it fully. Zikrona livracha. May Fran's memory always be a blessing to those who knew her and loved her. The words of the poet Henry Scott Holland. Death is nothing at all. I've only slipped away into the next room. I am I and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the same easy way which you always did. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be the household word that it ever was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the shadow of a ghost on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolutely unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind? Because I am out of sight. I am just waiting for you, for an interval somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. We invite forward Miriam to offer a reflection at this time.
What would I do without my iPhone? I have been overwhelmed by the memories friends and family have shared with me about my mom. I always knew she played an important role in the Madison Jewish community. Again and again, people have mentioned, I will always remember her warm, welcoming smile. Fran was a dear friend and a mentor to many, a leader, a role model. Over the course of 101 years, she was the hostess extraordinaire for more events than anyone could count. Celebrating holidays with family and friends, Jewish community events, and political fundraisers. She did it all, and she did it with ease. I was very attached to my mom throughout my childhood. I remember tagging along with her to many of her volunteer activities. I especially remember picnics in the nearby Wingra Park for what was then called the Golden Agers Club. My mom was probably all of 40 at the time. Not that she was in the Golden Agers Club, she was a volunteer. But my mom and dad provided a safe and nurturing home life for me and Dan, rich and rewarding. It wasn't until I went out in the world I discovered how special this was and how rare. Mom was there for me whenever I needed her, even when she didn't quite agree with my decisions. In all the busyness of planning the funeral, I really have not mourned my mother's loss yet, but I know when I get back to Minneapolis, there will be an empty space in every day, that time I would usually take to make a FaceTime call with her, to talk with Mom, to check in, to chat. I will miss many, many things about my mother every day, but I will really, every day I will miss, there will be a hole where I could see that warm, loving smile that covered her face almost until the very end. And I would like to share a poem with you. I wrote it, probably about 8 years ago, called How I Learned to Thread a Needle. I don't remember her teaching me how to thread a needle, yet I see her today, a basket by her side, filled with spools of many colors, buttons of many shapes, snaps of several sizes. A length of thread in hand, she places it in her mouth to moisten. Then, with her fingers, forms a perfect point she will easily insert into the eye of the needle. She squints, focuses on that almost invisible spot, pokes the thread through the needle, takes the two loose ends and twists them into a knot. Dozens of pins pierce the surface of a cherry red pincushion. Packets of binding and measuring tape, steel gray pinking shears, and a pair of fabric scissors crowd her sewing basket. I don't remember Mother teaching me how to thread a needle, how to sew on a button, how to hem a skirt, but I watched her when I was young, and I watch her now as she navigates her 90s, pulling threads from the past, creating a pattern for the present, spools of many colors, a decorative button here, a snap there, a zipper along the side, open at the top.
Invite forward Fran's sister, Esther Lang.
The first thing that I want to say about Fran is I never heard her say a bad word about any person at all. She was always very kind. I was very proud of all her accomplishments, and there are so many things that you've already heard from other people, but I also want to say she was a terrific mother, and she saw Miriam through very hard times after she had an accident and was always by her side helping her to get well. There are many other things I could say, but I'll leave it at that because you all know so much about her already.
We'll now hear from Fran's grandson, Dove.
Thanks, guys, for coming. I was sitting in the front. I didn't see everybody. Thanks. My son Amram sent me with the poem that he wrote for Gangi's 100th birthday. He didn't give it to me directly. He gave it to my wife, Roselle, to give to me, because he knew if he gave it directly to me, I would start crying, which is still true. So I'm not going to read it for you, except for the one line, in 1923, you were born Gangi. On the computer and in person, we love to see, and we do. Look what I got, Gangi. Do you guys know what this is? It's one of those little things they give you on the plane when you sit in the fancy seats. I called up the airline, and I called up a travel agent, actually, and I said, I want to fly. I want to fly on this date, I want to come back on this date, and I want to fly El Al, and I hung up. And I didn't even ask what it was going to cost or nothing. And I paid it with my credit card, and I didn't look back. And I got on the plane, and I was sitting in like the junior first class section. And they asked me questions I didn't know the answer to, and there were people I didn't recognize, and they gave me this. And it's got a little toothbrush in it, and then some socks, and a mask. And this is what Gangi and Pum Pum used to bring us all the time from all their trips. I never had one of these firsthand before. And what it meant is that they were always thinking of us. And they always wanted to share everything with us. And it's not from Pan Am or TWA, but I'm going to get one of these on the way back, too. And the problem with that is that I have 4 kids. So I don't know how that's going to work out. Tomorrow is Purim, Gangi, and the kids wanted to show you their costumes. Hadassah's going to be a vending machine, and Amram's a Chabad guy with a tefillin stand. And we made them at home out of, like, cardboard and hot glue and stuff. And you would have just been so impressed and proud, because you were always so impressed and proud of them. And so impressed and proud of me. I'm reading this off my phone, too. Gangi got an iPhone before I got a phone, so this is in her honor. Sadia and Alicia don't have costumes yet, but they'll put on a silly hat at least, or something. And you would have told them that they look great, and you were always telling us how good we looked and how great we looked, and and how nice of us it was to come visit. And you always acted like we were doing you a favor. You would say, "Oh, Dove, how nice," you would say. When I dyed my hair red for a show in Sweden and came back to Madison with it kind of blonde, you were the only person who had anything nice to say about it. "You should keep doing that," you said to me. When Roselle and I told you we were going to move to Israel, I guess you couldn't help be a little bit sad that we were going so far away, but you're the one who introduced us to Skype. You said, "Oh, I talk to Vita and the kids like that all the time." And so Skype Sunday it was. Stories and jokes and songs and endless show and tell, and why on Sunday? I mean, it's not like you were working a 9 to 5. Why? But the truth was, it was hard to get a hold of you sometimes. You would call and apologize that you couldn't talk this week. You had a meeting or a lunch date or a shift at Collector's Corner or an event, and you'd talk to us. You'd talk to us again soon. I secretly loved it when someone would call you while we were on the Skype, because you would answer really politely and you would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm talking to my grandchildren in Israel." And you sounded really, really proud to say that, but I know you didn't mean your grandchildren. You meant your great-grandchildren. It was just so hard to imagine that. Like sometimes you'd call me Danny or Lev or Sadia Dove or Talia Sasha. It's like you couldn't believe that there were so many generations between us. Like you just kept wanting to pull us closer to you all the time. And just like you patiently delighted in all the grandchildren's songs and dances in the living room, you did it all again for the next generation. But I'm sorry, I'll be done soon. But it wasn't just for them. It wasn't just for the cute kids or the growing teenagers or even the bright young adults that Talia and Lev have already become. Because in some ways it's easy to be generous and optimistic for the young. After all, they have their whole lives ahead of them, so even if their plans don't work out, and I mean, how are their plans not going to work out, right? They're so talented and good-looking, but maybe they won't, right? There's still going to be plenty of time. They can succeed at so many other things. But it was also the same for me. You kept seeing the best in me. You kept being proud, kept making me feel special, never expressing doubt or second-guessing, even when there was every reason in the world to. At 20, at 30, at 40, at 49, you never stopped. You were so generous in every single way. When I say to my kids, "You can be anything you want to be," it's because you've already made sure that their education is paid for, even if they want to be brain surgeon astronauts. And you gave me the chance to go out there and pursue my dreams and even being able to raise a family afterwards, too. It's hard for me to imagine that I'm up here at a funeral trying to sing your praises, because Gangi's praises are for birthdays, right? 85. Big cruise at 90, 95, 100, 101. We just got used to it. When my mom called me a couple weeks ago that you would fall, and I said to her, "Wow, do you think I should come visit now? Like before?" Right? But I didn't really mean it. I didn't really mean it. I knew we'd come in the summer, like always. Gangi taught me many things. Among those is this: before you leave, you have to say thank you. And it's scary to say thank you because you'll always leave somebody out. So let me say up front, I'm going to leave a lot of people out, and I hope that we have a lot of time together this afternoon and later, and we can all say thank you to each other in person. I'm just going to mention 2 people right now. To my sister Sasha, I am absolutely in awe of you. I know that I skip town, and I just get to breeze in for the highlights, right? Bring in the troop of cute little grandkids and make a big impression every time I show up. But you were there all the time, for the hard parts too, for the everyday schlep, for in and out of the car and out of the car, and with the walker and without the walker, and it's only thanks to you that we got to see Gangi on Sunday For one more time, for one more you look great, and kisses goodbye. And it's only sorry. And finally, I want to say thank you to Pum Pum, to my grandfather. Thank you for your patience. I know that it wasn't easy to be away for so long from Gengi. I know, because I still always think of you together. And I said that Gengi never complained to me, but that's a lie. She did. She only complained about one thing, and that was having to be away for you for so long. That's not the plan, she said to me. That wasn't the plan. לכי לשלום, סבתא יקרה. תהיה מליצת יושר על הבנים, על הנכדים, על הנינים, על כל עם ישראל. ונתראה בתחיית המתים בעזרת השם. In the name of all the grandchildren, I didn't talk to them before, but I'm saying this in the name of all of us. We will do our best to be our best because you always saw the best in us. I love you.
Thank you, Dove. We'll take a moment of silence with our own thoughts at this time.
In doing and in dreaming, you've been dropping seeds behind you that will flower in due time. You will never know all the change that you helped sow, but just know that it's happening all the time. And you will never know all the beauty you helped grow, but just know that it's happening all the time. All the time. All the time. All the time, all the time, in doing and in dreaming, you've been dropping seeds behind you that will flower in due time. You may never know all the change that you helped sow, but just know that it's happening all the time. You may never know all the beauty you helped grow, but just know that it's happening all the time.
Let's read together. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the blueness of the sky and the warmth of summer, we will remember her. In the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we will remember her. When we have achievements that are based on hers, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us, as we remember her. So often in life, sometimes memories hit us at strange moments. And we're driving the car or doing dishes or taking a walk, and something about a person strikes us. Something about Fran comes to your mind. The time you shared with her, a moment that you would call her about or think was funny or poignant. And too often in life, those moments happen and we just forget about them. We don't do anything with them. Maybe we smile. I think one of the challenges for us as a community and a community that loved Fran and loved this family is when that moment strikes you, to actually pick up the phone or to write an email or to send a text message. This made me think of Fran. I wanted to share this with you. That's the challenge. That's how we can allow her legacy to endure within each of us as that spark that motivates us. In a moment, we're going to rise and we'll say the words of El Maleh Rachamim, the prayer that asks God's angels to accompany Fran to a life beyond. After that, we're going to ask our pallbearers to come forward, and they'll take the casket out towards the hearse, where there'll be a procession to the Forest Hill Cemetery for those who are joining. If you'd like to join, you're invited, but also we understand that your presence here is really important. And then following the burial at Forest Hills, there'll be a lunch and an opportunity to share those stories and to schmooze and to greet people back here at TBE, probably around 1:30. Our request is if you could help us out and help us get to our appointment at the cemetery, as we're going to let the family head towards their car kind of quickly so we can get to the cemetery and have the final burial and say Kaddish there. So if you could allow them the opportunity. And certainly when we're back here this afternoon, we encourage people to stay and linger as long as they want. I know that there are Shiva minyanim and Shiva gatherings in the coming days, an opportunity to continue to share those stories and be together as family. If you're able, I invite you to rise. The words of El Maleh Rachamim.
El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bameromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kiroshim Uteorim, Kezohar Arakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Fegel Bat Yitzchak Ve'Adar Shehalcha Le'olama Bal Rachamim Yasireh Beseter Kenafav Le'olamim
בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה. ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר
Amen. Our angels spend much of their time sleeping. In their dreams, they tear down the new houses by the sea and build old ones in their place. No matter how long they may sleep, 100, 200 years, 10 centuries is not too much. The first to wake up takes the torch that has been handed down, adds a drop of oil to the lamp, blesses the eternal light, and then recalls the name of every other angel. And one by one, as they are remembered, they wake up. For them, as for us, there is nothing more beautiful than memory. Zecher Sadik Livracha. May the memory of a good person, may the memory of a good family member, a good sister, a good mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, and friend always be for a blessing. And we say together, Amen. I'll invite forward our pallbearers at this time.